Shalom Akim, Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Rakadash. Double honors and salutations to the elders and apostles of Great Mystery Rebel, Spread Nash DC Camp, with another look into the aspects of prophecies that the Lord Yahweh is allowing to come to pass. So this article I have in front of you, before you, it's about, the whole situation that Esau had to embark on concerning the invasion of Iraq. But then, it says, according to the title, it says Agog over Bush's comments on Gog and Magog. So this from way, way, way back, 2002, 2003, the whole orchestration for the United States to go into Iraq. Because, it's all of the Most High that these things had to take place. All right, so if you look at the word agog, I did a little digging. It just means excitement or eagerness. You know, people want to know about Bush's comments concerning Gog and Magog, because from the articles I've read, it says Bush was in contact with some so-called world leaders about the situation of getting Iraq, bringing Iraq down to its knees. So, they had that discussions, but what really stood out was when I was listening to some commentary over 10 years ago. It talks about the so-called Prime Minister, or President of France, Jacques Chirac, back then, that, the issue of Gog and Magog came up. So I was like, wait a minute, some people's been reading the scriptures. So it all boils down to, the Holy Scriptures, because these so-called war leaders, they're familiar with the Scriptures too, man. They read it from time to time, or they have their so-called advisors, look into certain topics that they're interested in. So it just lets you know, man, all these so-called presidents and congressmen and governors, they have people that they consult with to have an idea of what they're dealing with. And this always been what been taking place since ancient time. They call the Magi to consult with the so-called gods to have an idea of what to do, how to proceed on certain matters. So this is exactly what happens. They consult with warlocks and witches and all that stuff. So you know how it is, man. So I read the article. It says incredibly, President George W. Bush told French President Jacques Chirac early 2003 that Iraq must be invaded to thwart Gog and Magog, the Bible's satanic agents of the apocalypse. So you know how it is, man. They know exactly what's going on, because there's a article I also saw online years ago, man. Shows a W with a Talmud. So I'm like, wait a minute, this guy is it's no regular bum. He reads. These presidents, they read, man. They read books. So you shouldn't just look at them as being dumb. You know, they might be puppets, but at least they gotta read some books to keep their minds sharp. Because that position of authority, it's not a joke, man. They gotta be on top of their game. If not, they're gonna push them aside. The so-called bosses will kick them aside. So it says, honest, this isn't a joke. The President of the United States, in a top secret phone call to a major European ally, asks for French troops to join American soldiers in attacking Iraq as a mission from God. So you know how it is, man. Back then they would say, pray for the president. You know, so he's fulfilling God's will. All the so-called evangelicals, pray for, we pray for Bush. That's trying to fight the axis of evil. All right, so it says now out of office. All right, this article was written way back, about 10 years ago. It says Chirac recounts that American leader appealed to their common faith, all right, Christianity, and told him, all right, Gog and Magog at work in the Middle East, the biblical prophecies are being fulfilled. All right. So just imagine, man, how the hell does he know about biblical prophecies? Even the elders been teaching about the scriptures and about prophecies before Bush took office. So just imagine, what kind of information these are so-called presidents have access to, because they have top scholars in all these different institutions, whether it's the Smithsonian, whether it's universities, or these think tanks. They could dig up whatever article and whatever artifacts they have and give a so-called educated guess of what's going on. So it says this confrontation is willed by God, who wants to use this conflict to erase his people's enemies before a new age begins. So it's all, cover, because these Edomites, man, they talk about new age, but what they really want is a new world order so they could continue their rulership upon the face of the earth. So they know that the Edomites of the Bible speaks up, but they just want to keep that hidden. They want to pretend that they're on the side of Israel, which are the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Inter-Americans, but they rather go with the Amalekites that claim to be Israelites, but they are not. All right. So it says this bizarre, seemingly deranged episode happened while the White House was assembling its coalition of the willing to unleash the Iraq invasion. Chirac says he was boggled by Bush's call and wondered how someone would be so superficial and fanatical about in their beliefs. All right. So it says in this paragraph says after the 2003 call, the puzzled French leader didn't comply with Bush's request. Instead, his staff asked Thomas Romer, all right, a theologian at the University Lausanne, to analyze the weird appeal. Romer explained that the Old Testament book of Ezekiel contains two chapters, 38 and 39, in which God rages against Gog and Magog, sinister and mysterious forces menacing Israel. So that's how these elites, man, they like to take the scriptures and use it to their advantage. So they know, man, they know what's going on. And with the volume of work, the quality of work that the elders and apostles of God should have put out there, now they get a better clarification of what their role is. So that's the reason why they want to come against, the folks that put out truth on the enterprise. They want to start shutting down channels because they're getting caught to the heart. That their plans are being foiled. That people are no longer going along with the narratives they keep on putting out there on the news. All right. Then it says Jehovah, all right, this is the Lord Yahweh, vows to smite them savagely, to turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws and slaughter them ruthlessly. All right. So that's the point right there, man. And when you keep on reading the article, it says, in 2007, Roma recounted Bush's strange behavior in Lausanne University's review. Le Savoir, a French language Swiss newspaper, Le Matin Dimanche, printed a sarcastic account titled When President G.W. Bush saw the prophecies of the Bible coming to pass. Alright. France La Liberté likewise spoofed it under the headline A Small Scoop on Bush, Chirac, God, Gog, and Magog. But other news media missed the amazing report. So they chose not to report on it. They just, throw it under the back burner. Not on the back burner, not behind the back burner, under the back burner. Subsequently, ex-President Chirac confirmed the naughty events in a long interview with French journalist Jean-Claude Maurice, who tells a tale in his new book, Si vous le répétez, je démettrai. Alright, if you repeat it, I will deny. Alright, meaning plausible deniability. Alright, So it just let you know, man, they have an idea of what's going on, but they pretend not to know. Just like this, the events when you have the chariots of Israel, the so-called UFOs up on the sky, they pretend that they don't know what it is. So it says, oddly, mainstream media are ignoring this alarming revelation that Bush may have been half cracked when he started his Iraq war. The Charleston Gazette in West Virginia is the only U.S. newspaper to report on it so far. All right, so it says Canada's Toronto Star recounted the story, calling it stranger than fiction disclosure, which suggests that apocalyptic fervor may have held sway within the walls of the White House. Fortunately, online commentary sites are spreading the news, filling the press void. So that was the point that right there, Akim. These so-called elites, they have access to the information of the scriptures. They got scholars that look into these things for them. So just imagine, the so-called president of France. They know, so you had to ask her for his so-called assistance to contact an authority in the Old Testament, to produce a document, to produce a report, a detailed report on what's going on with this Gog and Magog issue. So just imagine, man, what they get every morning as per their press briefings, So just let you know, man, it's all spiritual. These so-called elites, they have dreams, of what of what they do, and they know about the Lord Yahweh Shema Shah, but they choose not to talk about him, you know, at length. Just want to, divert to a different topic. All right, so I get this quick precept here. You know, I won't take too long. So this is going to be from the book of Isaiah chapter 45. All right, just bear with me. Yeah, it's going to be from the book of Isaiah chapter 45. Isaiah chapter 45, verse 21. So it says, tell ye and bring them near. Yea, let them take counsel together. Who had declared this from ancient time? Who had told it from that time? Have not I, the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua Ba'ashem Kwakadash, and there is no power else beside me, a just power and a Savior, there is none beside me. Alright, so that's exactly what, the Lord Yahweh Shema Shah is letting on, his elect know that he's the one in control, man. That whatever these so-called world leaders do, most I pull on the strings. Because these so-called world leaders, they don't want to give credit to the Lord Yahweh Shema Shai because they are offended that they weren't chosen to be of the nation of Israel. Talking about the Edomite elites, the Moabite elites, the so-called Ishmaelite elites, and Elamite elites, even Japhet too, and the Hamites. So they understand, man, that they're up for a serious confrontation with the Lord Yahweh Shema Shai. That time of rulership is up, and they're angry. That's the reason why they're pushing hard, for the confiscation of weapons. They're going after people's, you know, uh, videos and speech on the internet. They're going after, whatever the people can do to have a different opinion, because they want to maintain control. They're going after people's economy, by shifting jobs overseas, by reshuffling the board, to keep the people off balance, to keep them focused on stuff that's not really, really important, because the elites understand that information is power. When people are able to get access to accurate information in a timely manner, they're able to make the appropriate decision. And that's what happens, man. When they always want to put their news channel on top of the stack, so they could prevent people from having a balanced perspective. So it's all games, and they're scared of the Lord there by Shimmer or Shine because they see they see that the angels are showing up, in droves. You know, they feel intimidated. That's why they're pushing hard. They want to overcome, the Lord Yahweh Shema Shai, and they go deep and deep into their witchcraft to push all these events, all these so-called false flag events to keep the minds of the people at bay. All right, but they understand that time is running out for them, And if you look at the book of James, chapter 2, verse 19. All right, it says, "Thou believest that there is one power, thou doest well." All right. The devils also believe and tremble. So these elites are trembling, man. They're upset. They're angry. That's why, you hear Trump talking about his space force. We hear about all these nations talking about they want to have a so-called space program. They're putting weapons in space. They're testing out new weapons in their research facilities. They're testing all types of technology. They're going deeper and deeper and deeper into all these artifacts they could come across on the face of the earth, especially in the land of Israel. So they know what time it is, man. They know that the Lord Yahweh Shema Shai is coming. Even that's like I was reading. If you want to read the book of Josephus, it tells you about Alexander the Great. How when he had a vision from the Lord Yahweh Hashem Shai, he he had to he had to reverence the priests of the nation of Israel, the southern kingdom of Judah, Benjamin, and Levi during that time. So it's no big surprise, man. They don't these so-called historians, they don't really like to talk about that portion of the rise of the Greek Empire, the rise of the Greco-Roman Empire. They don't want to talk about that. But anyway, man, the men of the Lord will pick up on those little facts and they stick with it and they build upon it, and that's the reason why the Lord Yahweh Shema Shai is always pleased with his elect, all right, because they hear his voice and they do according to his will, all right. So I'll get another precept here. Um, you know what? Let me pull up from the internet. Spell me, I can open up a new tab and you know what? Just bear with me. I'm gonna move back on this one. So I'm gonna do a quick search. All right. So this is gonna be Alexander the Great. Dream. All right. How can I have access to the Josephus? You could always look up the proper information. All right. So if you keep moving. All right. So we're gonna use this one here from United Church of God. Let's see how it pulls up. All right, so I'm just gonna speed read through this. Yeah, just bear with me. Okay, so the article is written in 2005. It says Alexander reads about himself in the book of Daniel. All right, so it says although Alexander the Great conquered Syria, Lebanon, Egypt, and surrounding countries, modern historians have little to say of him visiting the Holy Land. Yet, ancient history says that he had a most remarkable encounter there, not only visiting the temple in Jerusalem, but also making a sacrifice to the God of Israel. Alright? So it says most modern historians dismiss the story, but one wonders just why they do. Could it be they would have to admit that there is a God of history who controls the course of nations? That's one thing they always want to, divert attention from. They don't want nobody believing the Lord Yahweh Al Shai. They want to talk about the Big Bang Theory, you know, and all the so-called Far Eastern doctrines. Anything besides the Holy Scriptures, all right, in its proper light. So it says the noted first century Jewish historian Josephus records the king's visit to Jerusalem and a meeting between Alexander and the high priest Jaddua. All right. So it says in 332 BC, Alexander besieged and defeated the coastal cities of Tyre and Gaza. All right, in which, it's like in his march towards Egypt, during his campaign, he turned towards Jerusalem. Alexander had already demanded men and supplies from the Jews who were under the rule of Alexander's mortal enemy, the Persian king Darius. All right. So it says the high priest hesitated, saying that while Darius lived, they would honor their pledge. Alexander was angry and began a move on the city. Well aware of the danger, Jador, all right, asked the people to pray to the Most High Yahweh for His mercy and protection. Then says Josephus, Jador had a dream as to how to entreat the Macedonian king. He and the other priests, all right, Levite priests, dressed in their priestly robes and accompanied by others dressed in white garments, formed a procession that went out of the city to a carefully chosen place to meet the king. Since Alexander then did the unexpected alone, he approached the high priest and members of the procession and greeted them. When asked by one of his generals why he welcomed his group, Alexander replied, I did not adore him, but that God, Yahweh, Bashim Shabbat Kodash, who had honored him with his high priesthood. For I saw this very person in a dream, in this very habit, garment, all right, when I was met at Dios in Macedonia, who, when I was considering with myself how I might obtain the dominion of Asia, exhorted me to make no delay, but boldly to pass over the sea thither, for that he will conduct my army and will give me the dominion over the Persians, whence it is that having seen no other in that habit, and now seeing this person in it, and remembering that vision and the exhortation which I had in my dream, I believe that I bring this army under the divine conduct, and shall therewith conquer Darius, and destroy the power of the Persians, and that all things will succeed according to what is in my own mind. All right, so it says the location, Josephus' Antiquities of the Jews, book 11, chapter 8, section 5. All right, William Winston. All right, so it just lets you know, man, that the Lord Yahweh Shema Shai always gives dreams, man, to these world leaders to do certain things. And so it says, Josephus records that Alexander then accompanied the priest into Jerusalem and the temple where he offered sacrifices to Yahweh, Bashim El Shah, Bashim Kodash, according to the high priest's direction, and magnificently treated both the high priest and the priests. All right, so just let you know then, says Alexander's visit was capped by a briefing from the book of Daniel, written several centuries earlier, which foretold the rise and conquest of Alexander. So it says, and when the book of Daniel was showed him, wherein Daniel declared that one of the Greeks should destroy the empire of the Persians, he supposed that himself was the person intended, and as he was then glad, he dismissed the multitude for the present. So just let you know, man, the Lord Abba Shima Shai gets down, he shows these so-called world leaders what to do, man. Whether it's for their own good, whether it's for their own destruction, it doesn't change anything. It's still the Most High show. All right, so it's beautiful, man. These so-called world leaders have always, been in contact with scholars and the prophets of the Lord Abba Shima Shai, especially their works, you know. They might not get in touch with the prophets, you know, but they might have access to their works. They watch the videos of the apostles on Great Millstone, even including the brothers. They watch the videos. Why do you think brothers' videos are getting flagged? The channel's getting, shut down. It's because they're pissed off that their plans are being revealed. They're angry that the internet was ever invented. So I got to find a precept here. All right, this is going to be from the book of Daniel, chapter 4. This an account of what happened to King Nebuchadnezzar, Daniel chapter 4. And then you start reading from verse 30. So it says, all right, so here was, let's start with verse 29. At the end of 12 months, he walked in the palace of the king of Babylon. All right. So, let me see. All right, so Daniel, this is Daniel, okay? So that 29 is talking about Daniel, all right? So verse 30 says, the king spake and said, Is, is not this great Babylon, is not this great Babylon that I have built for the house of the kingdom by the might of my power and for the honor of my majesty? All right, this is Nebuchadnezzar speaking. It says, while the word was in the king's mouth, all right, so Nebuchadnezzar was speaking in verse 30. So it says in verse 31, while the word was in the king's mouth, there fell a voice from heaven saying, O King Nebuchadnezzar, to thee it is spoken, the kingdom is departed from thee. So that's exactly what those Edomites are feeling right now, man. The lawyer Bashima Shah said, that Edom's rulership is over. They see it and they're upset. All right. So verse 32 now says, and they shall drive thee from men, and thy dwelling shall be with the beasts of the field. They shall make thee to eat grass as oxen, and 7 times shall pass over thee, until thou know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomsoever he will. The same hour was the thing fulfilled upon Nebuchadnezzar, and he was driven from men, and did eat grass as oxen, and his body was wet with the dew of heaven, till his hairs were grown like eagle's feathers, and his nails like birds' claws. At the end of the days, I, Nebuchadnezzar, lifted up mine eyes unto heaven. So the Most High gave him a sentence. Yeah, the Messiah bugged him out, man. That's worse than being in a psych ward, Messiah took him from the top, to the trash can, you know. And mine understanding returned unto me, and I blessed the Most High, and I praised and honored him that liveth forever, whose dominion is an everlasting dominion, and his kingdom is from generation to generation. So Nebuchadnezzar, he knew about the Lord Yahweh Shema Shai. He wasn't no ignorant walk in the park king, because kings back then were much more wiser than they were now. They were much more of a stronger mind, a stronger constitution. There weren't no bitches back then. They got down. But now, it's just so much drama with these so-called rulers of the world, man. They're flaky. They don't have no courage, man. They're always hiding. All right. So just let you know, man, the Lord Yabashima Shai runs the show. Then verse 35 says, and all the inhabitants of the earth are reputed as nothing. All right. And he doeth according to his will in the army of heaven. So he knew about the angels, man. He knew about the chariots of Israel. All right? He knew about the UFOs, man. The so-called UFOs. So it just let you know, man. You know, if Nebuchadnezzar didn't have no so-called satellites or telescopes back, so telescopes back then, didn't have no NASA, no space station back then. He knew about the chariots of Israel. He knew about the Lord Yahweh Shema Shai. He even knew the name of the Lord. He had access to the Holy Scriptures. All right, so there is no excuse for the so-called world leaders to be pretending that they don't know about the Lord. All right, and among the inhabitants of the earth, and none can stay his hand, or say unto him, What doest thou? All right, so that's the point right there. If you keep on reading, the verse 36 says, At the same time my reason returned unto me, and for the glory of my kingdom, my honor and brightness returned unto me, and my counselors and my lords sought unto me, and I was established in my kingdom, and excellent majesty was added unto me. Now I, Nebuchadnezzar, praise and extol and honor the King of heaven, all whose works are truth, and his way is judgment, and those that walk in pride he is able to abase. So him being aware of the power of the Lord Yahweh Shema Shai, how to put himself in check, honor the Lord Yahweh Shema Shai, but his son, got whacked by the Persians. So just let you know, man, that the kings of this world, the rulers of this world, man, they know about the Lord, but they just want to keep it on the hush hush. So that's why they pretend, man. You don't want to talk about the Lord Yahweh Shema Shai. They don't want to go into details of the Holy Scriptures. Just like the article I went into previously about Bush talking about Gog and Magog, aka so-called satanic forces at work in the Middle East. They know about that. They know about the Holy Scriptures, man. They know who the Israelites are, man. Because when they want to reveal it who the Israelites are, it doesn't go along with the narrative to dominate the whole world. So that's the point there. The so-called world leaders, they know about the Lord. They are about Shema Shai, about Shema Kwakadash, and they're scared. They're upset that they can't deal with the angels, man. They can't. They don't have the power. They don't have the authority. All they have is just an imagination, which amounts to nothing. So that's the point that I came in. I can hope you edify. You can always go deeper and deeper into the scriptures and other so-called events in world history. So whenever these so-called world leaders have a briefing, there's certain things they talk about. So this is just one of the examples. So I came, Kahala Yahweh Bashim Yahshai Bashim Kakadash, double honors and salutations to the elders and apostle of God, Mr. Rule well, pushing out the word of Yahweh Bashim Yahshai, sincerity and truth. Because these prophecies are coming to pass, man. Just like Bush said, you know, he doesn't have to really say it. The Lord of Yahweh Shema Shai, his word speaks for itself. All right, Shalom.